No, Charlie, you served on the Homeland Security Committee. More than 7 million people have fled Venezuela. It's the largest displacement of people in the Western Hemisphere. That is more people fleeing Venezuela than have fled Ukraine, and Ukraine is in the middle of a war. This is clearly a humanitarian crisis, but is it also a national security one?
Well, certainly a humanitarian crisis. And, I'm not ready to go say these people are a threat to our national security. These are mostly very desperate people who are escaping a horrific regime down in Venezuela. And they're looking for a better life, mostly an economic life. They want better jobs. And you can't blame them for leaving. The problem, of course, is you just can't walk in the United States and enter unlawfully because you want a better job. I mean, that's not the way it is. If you're about to be a real victim of violence from your government, and then can claim asylum, but the whole system is broken. So look, the crisis, of course, is in those countries, and both in Latin America, certainly Venezuela. I mean, we have to help address those issues as best we can, but it's a desperate situation. We simply don't have the resources to take everybody from Venezuela, from Cuba, and from wherever else, from the triangle countries of Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. I don't know that we have the capacity. More and more are also coming from Mexico. So sooner or later,
we clearly don't have the capacity. We're hearing that from governors and mayors, everywhere we're hearing it. So I'm just curious, Charlie, do you think that deporting these people back to Venezuela is going to work? They were desperate enough to run and flee that country. Won't they be desperate enough to try the trip a second time?
Many of them will. But at the same time, we do have to remove people. If we simply let people into the country and tell them show up to your deportation hearing at a date in the future, I suspect many of them are not going to ever show up to that hearing. They'll get lost within the country. And interior enforcement in the United States has not been very effective, in my view. So we're going to have to remove people and send them back. I know that's not something some folks like, but I don't know how else we can manage this situation. We have to send the signal that the border is not open for those who are trying to enter unlawfully.
Joanna, there is an impression here that the Biden administration seems to be on its back foot. These two announcements in the last 24 hours are radical changes in policy. There wasn't a clear, coherent message as to why they were suddenly doing this, or even why all of a sudden we're able to deport people to Venezuela. Up until now, we haven't been able to do this. Venezuela wouldn't take them back. So, I mean, from your political strategist point of view, and you worked in the Obama White House, what are they doing wrong here, and what could they be doing better?
Well, and remember, Elizabeth, that the first thing that Biden did coming into office was talk about comprehensive immigration reform. There are a lot of expectations from a lot of different communities, some who have been here 20 plus years and we haven't dealt with it, and they want to see comprehensive immigration reform. Biden knows that in Congress right now, he can't get that through. So he is, in this unfortunate maneuver, politically, he is actually giving the Republicans something that they've been asking for. Now, he's going to want their cooperation in return, and we'll see whether that happens.
Well, we should point out on day one, he did propose a plan for immigration reform. Congress did not pass it. Congress has not passed comprehensive immigration reform for decades. Charlie, you served in Congress. Why can't they do that?
Well, I think they should deal with immigration reform in a comprehensive way. And specifically, they need to do border security again. They need to deal with interior enforcement. I would deal with these as separate issues, one at a time. They need to deal with agricultural visas and the whole visa process. They need to fix the legal system of immigration. And again, establishing operational control of the border is an imperative. But I do agree. And they have to also deal with these dreamers who are here, and we have to legalize them. So you can do this, but I think they have to do it in a series of bills, and I think they could do this. But every time we try to do it, there have been folks on both sides of the aisle who want to blow this up. They like this as an issue. They don't want a solution, and there are solutions out there. Former Congressman Will Hurd had a very good bill on this subject, and others, and I strongly supported them. But there are people who want an issue. They don't want a resolution.
Chalk this up to one more on the list of things Congress needs to be doing while they're all sitting at home in their districts trying to figure out how to elect a new speaker. This won't be getting done. All right, Charlie Dent, Joanna Maska, really, really good to have you both. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.